God want?
I mean, maybe what God wants is for us to pay attention to the invitation, you know, that is, the way I talk about it is to participate in what God is already doing, right? So God is like all around us all the time. Moving things in the direction toward love. So God, I think, wants us to show up in that, you know? Just show up and be open and ready and then participate. Listen well enough to participate, long enough. You and these questions, man.
What does listening have to do with salvation?
I think a lot of more progressive or liberal Christians, a lot of Episcopalians are terrified of the word evangelism. And I think the reason why is that they think that it's all about what they say. And so they're like, but I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Where's the book? Where's the script? You know, it's like, that's actually not it. The most important thing that we could do, one of the most important things we can do in sharing our faith is actually listening for how God is showing up in other people's lives. And then just celebrating the heck out of it, you know? And when I get the opportunity to do that, I feel lifted. I feel closer to God. You know, I feel like it's a gift from God to me when I can hear those stories, even if somebody doesn't even speak God's name. When they tell me stories of resurrection, when they tell me how they came and somehow found a way out of no way, and that some love, some relationship, something transcendent pulled them out and carried them to another place, to wholeness. Again, it's always that wholeness. That's the fingerprint of God. It's like, oh, God was there. How do you know? Because I saw wholeness breaking out. Yeah, when I see that, I just want to listen. I want to listen. I want to celebrate it. And yeah, evangelism, it's something like in the celebrating, I will say, thanks be to God. And I will say, that's how I know Jesus has been here. And she'd be like, what? So there's an exchange of faith going on, but mostly like if you can't listen, I don't know, I feel like if you can't listen, then there's probably something in you going on that thinks that you're in control. And if you think you're in control, then you're probably that much further from being truly at home with God. And salvation is being at home with God.
Were you seeing signs of resurrection?
Yeah, good question. I think some of the places we're seeing it broadly in culture are things like Black Lives Matter. I think we're seeing it when people that previously have not had a voice are finding a voice and claiming their human dignity, say, I'm alive, I'm here. I ought to have just as much access to this dream as everybody else. I think we're seeing it in places where we're brave enough to get out of our comfort zones and take some risks and just simply be with people in our communities, whether that's on college campuses, in neighborhoods around congregations, or just in our homes, in our neighborhoods.
Were you seeing signs of resurrection?
I see signs of resurrection in our communities, in the way in which a young man who just wants to help people in his community find a way to get around starts a bicycle shop, and that is an outpost for the mission of God. That is a place in which the kingdom is being enacted. It's being enacted as two people stand next to each other learning how to repair a bicycle, but in that relationship with one another, neither of those two people are the same.
Is the church putting their logo on the bicycle? Where does the logo go?
We have no logos.
What?
But I think in our communities we have people who are inviting homeless women and children to come and live with them in a house of hospitality, and they are celebrating, not in a way a homeless shelter would, but in a way a family would around a dinner table, the successes and the birthdays and the holidays, and creating community by giving a badge and raising a glass to say this is something to honor and celebrate, and I am more human because I have known you, and now we know something of what God is dreaming because of this relationship. I see it when there's reconciliation between I think some of living in community with another person means that you rub up against all of the things about yourself and about the world that most frustrate you. And when we can acknowledge that and say, here is a place where I have hurt someone and where I have been hurt, and reconciliation happens, in the living room, across the dinner table, that becomes the place where God's dream gets lived out. That encounter of, I had no idea, but I'm so sorry I hurt you.
And you're seeing this because I haven't read about it. I haven't seen it on the news.
Yes, I sat with people just the other day, and this was happening, it's happening. I think it's happening all around us every moment, and most of the time we're not realizing that those are the ways in which God is acting in our time, breaking in, where the most unlikely dance partners stand up in a bar and begin dancing to each other, and there's this glimpse of what God hopes for. And I think, these things are happening every moment, and I think that's the raising of our awareness, that the more we practice noticing, the more we actually know that God is in the midst of it, that God is actually planting seeds and growing things in us and in our world that we could never have even dreamed of.
The word on the street is the church is dying.
I think the church is changing. I think the church is having to realize that there is more than one way of being the church. And one way may be dying, but I think in every age, God is renewing the church, restoring the church, reforming the church. And it is in that space of reformation or renewal that we see that God is actually completely so far, this is it, this so far out ahead of us, that God has already known how to bring the good news to people, and that the church is not, in one form, is not the only vehicle, but that there's so many ways in which that good news gets shared. And anytime we begin to think that we have the market on the good news, that we know the only way in which good news can be proclaimed, I think we have to ask ourselves, is this good news to these people? Because if it's not, we probably need a new form of church.
There's some parts of the church that are so like practicing death that leads to more death, that just does need to die. And then I think there are ways that the church can live into its dying that will bring forth new life. And I think we have to stop being scared of both of those things happening. I mean, we're all terrified of death, and we most of the time live in denial that will ever happen to us because we just kind of can't deal with it. I know, I hate to tell you. I'm sorry. I hope I'm not the first one to tell you that.
I gotta call my wife right now.
Call your pastor.
What? Please tell me.
Well, I mean, and talk about the thing we don't understand the most, right? And the church is like the one place that people still go when they don't, when they have to deal with death, right?
So you better give them a good answer, right?
We've told ourselves that's what we need to do. 'Cause maybe if they come to the funeral, then they'll come back the next Sunday. I actually, it's a risky thing for clergy to say, I don't know. But it's the truth. I think it's one of the most freeing things actually to be able to say, not only in like figuring out, you know, like in the whole living into the whole missional church, discerning what's next. Like, if you don't say, I don't know, then you're lying. Because we don't know.
What gives you hope?
Hearing people's stories of what they're trying, you know, like hearing that people are talk about being passionate about something, and then they're trying it, they're doing it, and maybe they fail and maybe they succeed, you know, whatever those things mean. People taking risks for the gospel, I guess that's one way to say it, right? Like other people going all in. It gives me hope and courage to be like, okay, I can keep doing this, you know? I'm not alone.
You think things are still being made new?
Every day. But I think they have to die. I think that's part of it, right? There always has to be death for something new to be born.
You still think God's making all things new?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, first of all, I pray that prayer every day. Yeah, it's in the prayer book. Let the whole world see and know that things which are cast down are being raised up, and things which had grown old are being made new. And yeah, it's all over the place. I mean, here we are in spring, and look at, I mean, all the ways creation is just bursting forth. I love it. Yeah, it's always all new. Yeah. I heard recently about, I think it was a church in the Diocese of Western Massachusetts. Their bishop told us about this, that, you know, on Ash Wednesday, we mark people, remember you are dust, and to dust you shall return. And he told about this church that in the Easter season has people again come to the rail, and they are marked this time with oil, and it's remember you are love, and to love you return. And I feel like at times it can be that you know, that two of the 1-2 punch. You know, that there is something already resurrected about us. There's something already that has conquered death about us. And so if we could just live like that, I mean, how great would this world be? Not just for us, but for everyone. And that's the kind of love that's attractive. You know, when people start living like that, that's when people say, "Hey, what do you have there? I want to be a part of that," right? Not when we go out and say, "Let me tell you about I am," right? Let's parse JEPD sources of this text, right?
How far does love go?
I think there is no end to love. Love has the capacity to do all things, break all things, change all things, transform all things. Love has the power to shape our very reality and to absolutely break apart our reality. I think love is the most powerful force in the world.
That's good news.
That's good news.
How far does love go?
It goes all the way, man. Yeah. I mean, I think about, there's this story, and it's not in the Bible, but it's too good a story not to be true, you know. And I like story. I love story. Fancy myself a storyteller.
Like Hardy Boys?
What's that now? Hardy Boys. Yeah, that's right. Hardy Boys, man, you're a funny dude. Made me forget where I was going. Maybe I needed to forget it. Yeah, so there's this story of Judas, you know, the betrayer, and he's sitting in darkness. And I guess this is after he's dead or something, but it's a story that the Eastern Orthodox tell. He's sitting in darkness, and he's sitting there for a long time. Very long time. He's sitting in this darkness, and eventually he sees like this speck of light. And as he's able to move, and as he gets closer, the light gets bigger and bigger and more intense. And as he gets closer and closer, the light sort of opens up, like big enough for him to like walk through. And he walks through that light, and there are the rest of the 12 and Jesus sitting there. We've been waiting on you. Yeah. That's how far love goes. Yeah.
I'm all about Francis. And the story of St. Francis, of course, is that, he was the son of a merchant. They had high hopes for him. He was going to be a knight, all of that. And so he should have been the stuff. And for a number of reasons, it just did not work out. But he ends up in the church, in the presence of a bishop, and his father says, you are not supposed to be in here. You're supposed to be out there making money, doing what we do. And Francis is like, well, if that's what you expect of me, then I will take shelter here. And his father's like, well, then I'm taking everything that we gave you. And Francis is like, fine. And he strips. And he strips naked. He strips, gives everything back to his father. And then the bishop comes, takes off his coat, wraps it around Francis. And that's what church does. It allows you to just be stripped by, to say, I didn't need all of that. All I needed was this love, of God. And then church is what kind of wraps back around you and says, it's going to be all right, boo. Keep giving yourself away.
Unless you're on the subway.
Don't do that. Let's not be all about the stripping.
Oh, it's a metaphor.
I know. But keep opening. Keep giving love. But we're going to be doing it right next to you. And there's going to be enough for all of us. And in the end, we're going to actually be a part of healing a world.
That's good news.
That's amazing news.
It may be that there are burning bushes and resurrections happening all around us, and so we're just trying to have our eyes open to that greater reality.